Howard Zwick, and I work on my own as a consultant these days with companies in operational improvements, in quality and manufacturing and other areas, as well as employee health and safety. I've got a background in both in my years of experience in the manufacturing world, and I love to try and make things leaner, to make things more effective, more efficient, safer, and really improve employee contributions as well when the companies I work with. And I'm based out of the Philadelphia area. So go ahead, Manny.
All right. Thanks, Howard. Folks, how you doing? So my name's Manny. Many of you may know who you are. For anyone who doesn't, the short version is I'm a CI guy. I've been doing this stuff for a little while. I still got plenty more to learn. If you're truly visibly, say, more organized or better, or that duck when everybody else is running around with their hair on fire, you're paddling along nicely on the surface because you've got it under control. That's what we're talking about. And so the idea behind lean, where you least expect it, is this idea of personal lean habits at home, at work, and in the world. So you're going to get a lot of things. I mean, if you came expecting just the latest business tips, I'm sorry, we're going to show you some things again about the world. So
well, Manny, I think back, and I think maybe one of the reasons I got so interested in being more efficient and everything else is just thinking back on my mom, who I saw yesterday, and I can't tell you how many times it was, where's my purse? Where's my keys? We can't leave the house. We're all ready to leave, and we can't leave because mom can't find her purse because mom couldn't remember to put it in the same place every day in the house. Instead, she put it wherever she wanted to. So maybe that's what drove me crazy enough to think about being more efficient and effective in my life. So I started at an early age of training and what not to do.
I got enough spice in my life. I don't need to go, searching for things. So,
yep.
So why are we doing this? Well, because I mean, most of us are CI people, and I think we owe it to ourselves, really, and our families and our businesses to really be efficient and effective with our time. Right. So, if you take a look at the idea of an engine room on a cruise ship, the devil's in the details, right? I mean, when you're on a cruise, you don't think about the engine room. Oh my gosh, that's like thinking about, I don't know, the laundry facilities that they have, but they probably have like half a dozen of them throughout the ship, and they're massive affairs. They're neat. That's where the reputation of a cruise ship could be won or lost, is in the details. Likewise, too, with the way we conduct ourselves in life. So,
when you deal with people, as all of us hope probably do in our day-to-day lives of business, the question becomes, are we team players personally? And are the people around you team players? Or are people, we call them we versus me. So are you playing the game of the team and saying we as a team? And I actually call them I people. If you think about the people you talk about or that talk about things around the business, how many people say, I did this, I did this, I did this, when it was they did some of it maybe, but their team did a lot of it, or other people did a lot of it. And so I think when we talk about, one of the things that we talk about is how do we be successful in our jobs? And certainly I think all of us, we want to take the personal credit sometimes, but how often do we give it the team credit? And will the team appreciate that credit? So how do you be more above that line?
Yeah, absolutely. And this came about too, by the way. I saw it at a client, and I loved it, so I decided to R&D it immediately. I mean, I told them I would, right? You know what I mean, rip off and duplicate, because it's such a wonderful idea. And so I did, with credit to them. And really they use this as part of their vocabulary, and they'll question a decision and say, well, is that decision above the line? It really helps them just have another, I want to know, area to measure decisions against. Are you saying you're against third shift because you don't want to have to man it or manage it rather, or is it really a good business decision not to?
Yeah. Are they, Manny, do you think that they're finding themselves having more group conversations and group decisions because of that?
Oh, completely. Completely. But this is a very unusual company I'm thinking of, because after all, they're probably up to, I don't know, 80 people maybe. Everybody in the company has a company paid iPhone. Oh, I could talk about them for a while, trust me. And they use them to communicate with each other. They use them to get instructions for machines. Like, hey, there, I want to change a program on this machine. I forget how to do it. They snap the QR code on the machine and watch the video on their phone. Wonderful. It's really neat. Oh, we could, that, if we want to tear up the agenda, I'll keep talking about it. Otherwise, I'm going to click the next slide. Let's put it that way. So one of the things that we're going to do here, little sayings or quotes, things that people can remember to help emphasize certain points. So here, one of my favorites, right? If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you always got. And there's many variations on this, right? Related to change. You know, if nothing changes, then nothing changes, right? So that's the idea. You know, if you want the benefits, you got to put in the time. Oh, another old chestnut on change, right? I like saying this. And it's like this, people love change, especially when it happens to someone else. And it's that pause that it's like, people are like, what? You know, in my experience, that's the best way to get people to buy into change. Here's another one too, you know, especially with the supply chain folks, it drives them crazy, right, Howard? You've had plenty of experience in supply chain. What's this like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's whether it's the, yes, I agree. It's which 5% of the customers, and actually, sometimes it's actually not that hard of a question because sometimes you actually do pick your customers that you're going to disappoint. Doesn't mean that you're a good business necessarily, but there is a necessity to that. So actually, that one at times could be a realistic scenario of whatever it is. I'll ask you a different question because I deal with employee health and safety. And companies have told me, oh, we've done really well this year. We only had 2 injuries. Or we're only at this, we're going to talk metrics later, but we're only at this TRIR, which is a measure of employees injured per every 100 employees that we use as a standard OSHA comparison. And I asked people in training, I said, okay, on average, whatever, say we had 20 people in the room, on average, one of you is going to be injured this year. Who's volunteering to be that one? Right. And if you're not volunteering, who in this room are you volunteering? So it's the old story of, you know, if you only have 20 spaces on a lifeboat, who gets those 20 spaces and who's deciding? And the next one's one of my favorites, in the sense that you only care. A workers said this to something similar like this to me and the management team of a company I was working for a long time ago, which was you only care about quality during slow season. You only care about quantity, or you care about quantity during the busy season. So they were insinuating that as a management team, they didn't trust that we were talking about quality and would stick to our guns and really care about quality during the busy season when they were very correct. The company didn't really care about quality back then during the busier seasons. So
it is funny, Howard, how quality criteria could change at the end of the month.
yes.
The last week of the month, something's different. I don't know.
And work order or anything else. Yeah, absolutely. It drove me crazy as a organization when we wanted to ship at the end of the month and do anything you could because someone needed to make the numbers. And if it robbed the first day of the month, they didn't care of the next month. It drove me crazy.
You know what? What do you think about that? Like, let's take next sales months and put them in this month. I mean, you're either an eternal optimist or.
I understand people are measured on it, people get rewarded on it, and that's one of the things that, in a sense, as quality professionals, as you know, for me also as a safety professional, I have to keep on advising some of the clients and people I work with and the companies I've worked with before as, you know, employee. We can't do these things just because it's the end of the month and the quarter and someone needs to make a number. Which sometimes means, you know, we're selling that number not just to our you know, bosses, we're sending that to the world because we have public shareholders too.
Is there anything in questions?
Ricardo said, do or do not, there is no try. That's an interesting one. I like it.
You're about 3 foot tall and green. You could probably sell that one a little bit better, but okay.
So I do like that, though. I think that's a good one we do need to do things, or someone needs to make a decision, I guess, is part of what we have to say. And Ricardo also jumped in and said, that's what I tell the production manager. So clearly he's had some of the same questions and things we've had, we were just talking about. So thank you.
Because what we wanted to do next was talk about this, how standard work is like a peanut butter sandwich. But the video is 5.5 minutes long, and you're still seeing my screen, right? So this is where you should be. And I promise you folks, if you haven't seen this, you're gonna love it. And if you have seen it, you're still gonna love it, because I laugh every time I see it.
You're not making any sense. Sorry, you ruined it on purpose.
You know what? I'm hungry. I could really go for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Do you guys think you can write down some instructions and teach me how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah. I'm done.
Step 1. Get 2 pieces of bread out. Got 'em. Get a butter knife and get some PB. Take 1 piece of bread, spread it around with the butter knife.
No, Dad, with the peanut butter.
I'm just doing what it says. It says take 1 piece of bread, spread it around with the butter knife.
Hold on.
Get some jelly, rub it on the other half of the bread.
No, Dad, open the jelly.
Well, it doesn't say to do that. Put the breads together on top of each other. Take a big bite. This doesn't taste like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Fail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I had to make it extremely specific.
Oh, good. I'm starving. Take 2 pieces of white bread out of the bag. Take the lid off the jar of peanut butter. Get a butter knife and stick it inside of the peanut butter jar. With the knife, scoop a bit of peanut butter out.
A bit? That means like a lot.
A bit means a lot?
In my world.
All right. There we go.
Doing better than before, though.
Open the jelly jar. Squeeze it onto the other piece of bread.
No.
Done. Closer. Get 2 pieces bread. Get some peanut butter. Take the peanut butter knife. Open the peanut butter. Put the knife in the PB. Get some jelly. Open the jelly.
No.
Squirt the jelly onto the bread.
You're supposed to.
Take the butter knife with the peanut butter on it. Wipe it all over the piece of bread that's blank. Take the butter knife. Rub the jelly all over the piece of bread.
Oh, he's doing better.
It says all over. Put the 2 pieces on top of each other.
This is how I meant.
Take 2 pieces of white bread out of the bag. Take the lid off the jar of peanut butter. Get a butter knife and stick it inside of the peanut butter jar. With the knife, scoop some of the peanut butter out of the inside of the jar. Spread your scoop of peanut butter onto 1 of your pieces of bread with a knife.
No!
Squeeze some jelly onto the other piece of bread. Spread the jelly on the bread with the butter knife. Put your 2 pieces of bread, peanut butter and jelly sides together. Done. Get 2 pieces of bread. Get some peanut butter. Get some jelly. Open the peanut butter. Get a butter knife. Put the butter knife in the peanut butter. Take the butter knife out of the peanut butter.
You did it wrong. No.
Take 1 piece of bread and take the butter knife that has the peanut butter on it. Spread it all over the top of the piece of bread.
Dad,
That's the top.
I mean the sides.
Squirt some on another piece of bread. Take the butter knife, rub it all over the top of the piece of bread.
I quit. You're not making any sense. Zari ruined it on purpose. He knows how to make one. I know, Evan. It's the joke. It's the game that we're playing. Oh.
Do you know how to eat a piece of bread? You want to take your sandwich with you?
I edited a bit.
Take 2 pieces of white bread, take the lid off the jar of peanut butter. Get a butter knife and stick it inside the peanut butter jar. With the knife, scoop some of the peanut butter out of the inside of the jar. Spread your scoop of peanut butter onto the face of one of your pieces of bread with the knife. Squeeze some jelly onto the other piece of bread. Spread the jelly on the bread with the butter knife. Put your 2 pieces of bread, peanut butter and jelly sides together. Done.
Now eat it.
Not the best,
Well, you made it.
but
so.
I think it qualifies. That's a win.
Woohoo!
Dad has a whole series of these things.
Yes, he does. And so the point to this, by the way, was not really that, writing standard work is very hard. In fact, believe me, when I say a lot of things ended up in the land of good intentions and died there, I'm not kidding. As well as some meetings as an icebreaker, it's a 5.5-minute video, and it gets people talking about the difficulties of standard work. Now, I don't know, because somebody might walk away from that video thinking, oh, this is really complex stuff. But Howard, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think of it the same way as I think the words common sense. We expect people to use their common sense and do things, yet everybody among us has different perspectives and different understandings and different thoughts on just the simple one of put your knife inside the thing. Okay, which side of the knife do you use? You use the sharp end or the other end? And so how easy it is for us to fail to communicate with people who come from different backgrounds, speak different first languages. It is so easy for us to fail. And, as quality professionals, we have to help make it more successful. So I think there's so many ways to fail in communication. And so, I think about the ways that you can make it better. And Manny talked about one of them, having videos that pop up with a QR thing. I think we're going to cover later, whether it's pictures, but how do we make our training more understandable? How do we make our procedures more understandable? And how do you even think about what goes into the back of a box of cake mix, which is something that Manny, I've used in some other presentation before, is you look at the back of a Duncan Hines cake mix, can you even follow that and make it if you didn't know some of the things that you might know? So think of that someone who maybe hasn't used an oven before. They don't know what preheat might be. So there is even implied knowledge in some of their instructions, which are theoretically for anybody to follow.
I think we're back to regularly scheduled programming at this point.
Okay, so we're gonna just do a little demo on mind mapping, and again, actually, I'm not sure how many of you do mind mapping as a regular thing or not, but fundamentally, it's another tool that we use or can be used to try and get people to, it's a brainstorming exercise. It's a brainstorming, it's a thought process that we're going through of how to get ideas out there on a process and try and map that process out in a way that people can visually understand some of the linkages between different steps in the process. Onboarding, sorry, that's right. Okay, onboarding. I know we only talked about it a couple of hours ago. What goes on into onboarding of a new employee? And I would assume that all of us at some point in time were an employee or have hired, and certainly if not, you've hired employees or things. So, or you can think about what goes on with employees. So when we bring somebody in on day one, we want them to be able to do a lot of different things. And so you can think about, first thing they have to do is, walk in the door and they go see HR and they do certain forms, for instance. And so we can take that in a whole lot of things of how do we get somebody into our building and start getting them from the point of walking in the door to being legal to being working for us to the point that they're actually working.
Howard, help me out here, feed me some things. I'll build the map. So
Yep.
just to help get those juices going, think about employee onboarding. And there's lots of different ways to cut it. One way would be, I don't know, is there anything you got to do 30 days ahead of time? If not, certainly there's some things before, day of, and probably 30 to 90 days out that aren't covered on the first day.
Yep.
So if we start there, what might that look like?
Ahead of time, we have to create a space for them.
So pre-work, right? Can we call it that?
Pre-work, yep, sure.
Great. So what fits into pre-work then? What's next?
So
you said, oh, make space. So what, like
we need to make we need to have a desk, or in today's world, maybe they just need a computer.
Okay, sure. Yeah, why not? So here, let's go desk. This is not the way I would typically do a mind map, but believe me, you don't want to watch me write all this out. It would be painful for all. Okay. What else do we need? So, I mean, we could say computer. We don't, do we have to say computer bag and extra charger and all that? I mean, yeah, you know, computer, right? How about though, logins? Maybe we need those.
Yep. And we need to know what they're going to need access to then. So it's not just a login. We might need what computer program or systems access or capability do they end up needing?
So how about this then? And you know, in a lot of companies, I know some of you probably are looking at us saying, well, what's the big deal? You know, but I'll tell you what, I do work with a government contractor and it is a big deal. They're very tight, you know, they have multiple networks, like, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and even you know, sometimes it's I need them to have the same access that the person they replaced. That sometimes is easy, and sometimes you have people that are coming into new hybrid jobs that you got to say, well, I want them to be able to access all the ERP system stuff that Sue can access, and the quality systems that Fred can access, and a few other things, and they're all. It's important so they can actually do their job. And if you think about it, the new employee has no idea what they need access to. It's up to us to sort of figure that out as a boss.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So I haven't been paying attention. I don't know if people are suggesting things.
I have not seen any chats come through or anything, but please, chat, question, either one. Please give us feedback and thoughts if we missed something on the pre-work side of it, but if you want to start with anything else too. But why don't we go to other areas then? You want to go to day of?
Well, so is there any paperwork that we have to do? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Certainly on the day of we do.
We do indeed, but nothing else ahead of time. I mean, there's an application, but by the way, just so you know, in terms of SIPOC or process boundaries, we made them an offer, they accepted, they still haven't ghosted us yet. So that's where we are right now. Let's see here. So day of.
All right, I'm gonna ask, we need the audience participation here. Come on, guys, give us something.
So what's day of? No. Oh, start date. We need that.
Start date.
We need that ahead of time too. There you go.
Yep, you might even want to tell them what the dress code is or things like that too. So maybe there's a package of information you'll send out ahead of time.
Oh, there you go. Okay. What do we call this mythical package that we don't have? Like start guide or something like that?
Sure, start guide sounds great.
You know, your first day. Okay, quick start.
And thinking about that, I know that I don't remember what company it was, but I remember reading many months ago now about some company that actually has well, I guess this is day of, they have a video that they have waiting in the first email for the person is a video from the CEO welcoming them to the company, which I thought was a nice thing, is that they had a personalized video or something that telling them about, the things they're doing and how important they are to the company.
Holy cow.
So that's actually, that's set up obviously beforehand, but it's the first thing they got. Someone wrote in here, health benefits, perks, parking, if applicable, employee badge, credentials. So certainly some of those things are the day of, and some of those are things that they may have gotten ahead of time.
Sure.
And
Okay,
so it depends on how your company works.
So let's just say benefits. Let's not say health. Let's, it's everything, right?
Okay.
So,
Yep. All right. And Heather adds for pre-thing background checks. So that's stuff that we would certainly do ahead of time.
Yep. What I love about a mind map, by the way, folks, is exactly this. I mean, if I were writing it out, it would be easy enough just to move it anywhere, connect anything I want. Benefits. So day of, imagine a line.
Some link. So some what we're really doing is building out, and some are linking to each other, not just the baseline.
Right, but we were in day of, and what about the background checks? Yeah, we can go back and do that, and it doesn't look like we had to insert it in. So
yep.
Payroll, I don't know. I mean, I'm just banking. I'm not sure.
Yeah, day of, you've got a bunch of forms. Let's just say we have a whole lot of HR related forms that they have to do. Deborah adds for the day of, we need a tour around the areas.
Oh, sure, that'd be helpful.
Set up a tour. Yep. Show them where the bathroom and the cafeteria is at a minimum. So, yep, tours there with somebody.
There, I'm just abbreviating like crazy.
Just whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of areas that we should show them in the operation.
Sure, yeah. How about, so tour of the area, does that include meeting people in the area, or is that just, here's where things are?
I think a high level, a good one would include certain people.
So
you might actually even just have setting up meetings with different individuals that are important for their job. So not just a tour, but a certain meetings for that day.
Touch base, quick intro. I don't know. What do you think? Just so that we could remember it in a month. I just want the wording.
Sure.
So that when I look at this map in a month, I remember what the hell I meant. By the way, folks, right? Like you want to write in enough detail to do that. So what was I just saying? Set up some quick meetings.
Quick meetings.
Okay, so let's call it here. So I'm going to invent something that I really wish the companies would do. Set up 15-minute meetings with some key people, with some people. I don't know. I mean, if they're really key people, you might have some more of them.
Yeah, and of course, well, it also depends on what type of job they have.
Right.
And factory, office versus whatever. And I'll say safety training.
Oh, yeah, sure. Is that day of, or do we like give them a break and do it first week?
I like day of. To me, there's important safety related things, like you have to know. Certainly, they need to know how to evacuate the building and where to go if there's a fire. And that should happen on the first day they're. That should happen the first day they're there.
Howard, you almost sound like a safety professional. I gotta tell you.
That's good. I appreciate it when I can fool some people some of the time, but not all the time. So if I got you today, I'm good.
Well, no, I mean, it sounds like, you're obviously, you're focused on it where other people may not be as much, which is a valuable part of what we do.
And yep.
I'm done adding to this. What I wanted to do was talk about it a little bit more.
Okay. Have you used mind maps like this successfully?
I mean, I just love it because then we can, take this and turn this into a list of, who does what by when. So first 30 days or the first 90 days. And the idea is, though, that you're going to get better ideas, faster ideas, more thorough ideas this way, and turn it into an action list.
Yeah, I actually, from a safety standpoint, I talked about one of the most common metrics that people use is this total reportable injury rate. And I look at the metrics, and so that's certainly one that I use all the time because it is a simple comparison of things. Out of box quality has been one that I've used a lot. And by that, I mean, depending on your business, Out of box quality to me could be the first second when people unbox it and put it to use, and does it turn on or not turn on? For some businesses, one that I'm working with right now, we look at the first 30 days of life. So the definition of out of box quality for some is essentially first day. Turn it on and it better work. And if you think about it, if you get your cell phone and you turn it on and it doesn't work, your shiny new toy, it doesn't work, it is something you're pissed about. So we expect to have 100% out of the box quality on those, but what is your company's out of box quality, and how do you measure it and things like that?
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
Manny, what's some of your favorites?
It's sort of like your kids, right? Like, how can you pick one? Okay, but we can talk about the ones that are in and out of favor at any given time. And right now, one of my that are in favor is 100% complete and accurate, right? For an office process, right? And hopefully we'll talk about swivel chair processes, but it's looking sketchy. Most people aren't aware of swivel chair processes, but 100% complete and accurate means I got my piece of the process. Now, can I complete what needs to be done, or do I have to go back for clarification, completion, or correction from an upstream process? If I do, then that's a ding against 100% complete and accurate. And that's really what you'd be looking for. My other favorite one is real simple. Sales dollars shipped per people on the payroll. That to me, I like. Now then you start hearing, well, what about the people on PTO? And I got some folks on long-term disability. And okay, so the alternate for that one is then sales dollars shipped per labor hour worked. It's just a little harder to do that, but really not all that hard. And it's one of these great things. You do a baseline, you do a run chart with it, you get to see how you're doing over time. If you really want to get sophisticated, you might use SPC to let you know when things are unusual. But yeah, so sales dollar shipped per labor hour worked works for me every time.
All right, and I like Heather, thank you. It says door to provider, door to doctor. So I'm assuming that's time-based, which I love, because I used to always wonder why my dentist, as a kid, I don't know why my parents stayed with them, because it seemed like door to doctor was over an hour. And I never understood why would they set us up for a 4 o'clock appointment and we have rushed from school and I'm not seen until 5:15. It never made sense to me how the doctor's offices work. And okay, so technically doctor and provider can be very different. The throughput, okay, she's saying, okay.
But there is a reason why they're called patients, and there's such a thing as a waiting room.
Yep. Yes, and I accept a 15-minute wait for or maybe even 20 minutes. I don't accept that hour and 15, and I certainly wouldn't accept that for my current providers of dentists. But I guess he was probably one of very few in the town, so I had to deal with it. And that was one thing my parents were patient on for some reason. But definitely, there are different things, and we have expectations, and so I think it's a great thought process of different things that different people see as important. And one of the problems or the questions I have now thinking about it is, what are some of the leading indicators you do? Because a lot of times we focus on lagging indicators. And one of the questions that we have, really a tough thing to do from a safety standpoint and from a quality standpoint, is how do you do something that's predictive? It's a leading indicator that would be more predictive of things. And so you mentioned one of them, SBC, in a sense is still lagging, but it's predictive in the sense that we're taking data and seeing a trend that is then predictive of the future. So, or
right.
Well, might be predictive of the future if we allow it to continue.
Well, the wheels haven't fallen off the wagon yet, but SPC might let you know when they're loose. So something to think about.
So there are other leading indicators that you tend to like to watch?
Well, it can be tricky. There's no doubt about it. My favorite was I used to work in the air conditioning industry. So, I made residential gas furnaces as well as air conditioning units. And the gas furnaces, we called a bomb in a box to remind us how important it was to do it right. Because in any house fire, all the major appliance manufacturers get sued, whether or not their product was involved. Yeah, so gas furnaces, and we looked at housing starts, building permits, to get some sense of where we expected to see growth. And basically, you know, if it was year-on-year growth, then we forecast something similar for our business.
All right, so doing it for forecasting. From a safety standpoint, I think also from a times for a quality standpoint, I look at sometimes the safety training versus plan, of if you're not being getting people trained like you were supposed to be trained. It's one of those things that sometimes is both a lagging indicator, again, because you're looking at something that happened in the past, but it's also a leading indicator of what you may happen because you're not paying attention to details and you're not doing the things and getting people trained. And so you are more likely to have injuries or incidents because people aren't, it's a sense of culture when things like that happen.
Right. Well, near misses is a perfect example of it sounds wonderful. If it's implemented in the wrong culture, you may as well have just saved your breath, because even though they wouldn't get in trouble for making a mistake, or, you know, they wouldn't report it either.
Mhm.
And this could be like a production error, or it could be, you know, that near miss. And of course, the intent is not to punish people, but, you know, people see it that way. Anyway, so I got to tell you, so Heather really put a bunch of stuff in here, and it was neat how that door to provider is not necessarily the doctor, which is cool. You're right, of course. And then she says that the very last one is a gotcha, and I'm not sure what she wants. I want to know what's the gotcha that's in the questions here. If you let us know, Heather, I'd really appreciate it.
We need a theme music, Manny, for the next time, so you know when to
So I know when to shut up. Oh,
all right, so
after 7, or it's after the top of the hour.
yep. So why don't we say goodnight and thank everyone for coming.
You can spend a lot of time a lot of ways. Thanks for spending it with us for the last hour or so. Take care now.